What is good, everybody? Juliana Page here, and I want to cover today really this idea that you shouldn't wait for somebody to rescue you, or you shouldn't wait to be rescued. Everything that you look for really and truly is on the inside of you, but a lot of times we're waiting for a sugar daddy, we're waiting for a benefactor, we're waiting for it to be discovered, we're waiting on something, and really God is waiting on us. If you haven't heard that, catch it. So here are really, I sat down and I thought about what were things that I wish my younger self knew. Basically, things that I know now, right? So if you could go back to yourself that really needed to hear you and hear some good life lessons that took you some turbulence, if you will, to figure out, what would you tell your younger self? So I came up with a list of 10 things that you're probably going to want to take some notes on, okay? So, number one, da-na-na, sound effects help everything. Number one is don't stop. Don't stop. A lot of times, and I know this is true with my very first business, as we get started in something, it's really a lot easier to start a thing than to see it all the way through. It's easy because you get this idea, there's this momentum around the idea, you start taking those first initial steps, and then usually what happens also is you start hitting resistance. And as you hit that resistance, the thoughts come, right? The thoughts that, am I doing the right thing? Where am I going to get the finances for this? Does this even make any sense? People think I'm crazy, right? Like you just start thinking all of these crazy thoughts and talking yourself out of the very thing you had conviction to step into, which is not abnormal, but there's a tendency to get out of the faith zone and move back into a fear zone and to give up. And how that happens too is we start letting our focus be scattered. So the lesson really with number one, and don't stop, really means narrow your focus, okay? So instead of opening it wide, right, and taking in all of this feedback, the opinions of man, or even opening it up to fear, negativity, comparison, all of that stuff, narrow your focus. What do you know in your soul about what you're called to do? Narrow your focus and be excellent in your lane. That's number one. Number two is challenge the thinking, okay? So whenever you come up against a wall, a block, whatever it might be, whenever you come up against that, challenge the thinking that you're noticing around that. Sorry, I have like shorts on that are being funky right now. You're welcome. So challenge the thinking that's around that. What, again, is your motive? What is driving you? What is your focus? What is the source of what you're doing? And is it true, right? Whatever this thought is that's coming in to block you, whatever that obstacle is, challenge the thinking around it, right? We're creative. God is a creator, right? There's limitless possibilities when you have the God factor. So, right? Think about the new thing that God is trying to do here. How can this be done differently? What might this be revealing to you? Why are you called to do this thing? Why does it matter, right? So shift the thinking, challenge the thinking, rather than just taking something in verbatim or as is and accepting that as truth. Challenge the thinking, right? Things, even perceiving it as an obstacle, challenge that thinking. Is it really an obstacle or is it an opportunity? Challenge the thinking. Number three is own the show. So rather than this idea of you need a benefactor, you need to be rescued, all of these things, right? Before you'll step into something, own the show. Like create your own intersection. Create what you needed. Be the voice that you needed to speak life into you. You're it. You're it. You're not waiting on anyone. God is waiting on you to show up in the fullness of what's inside of you. What is in there? What makes you unique? Own the show. Own it. Show up in your authority, in the fullness of what that is, and rock what you got. Quite literally, in whatever arena you have. Even if that's a social media platform, show up and own the place, okay? Number four is love working. What I mean by this is love the creative process. I'm somebody, a lot of how God speaks to me is in creative downloads. And the thing with that is you never know when they're going to come. So you kind of you do have to surrender to them if you want the full benefit of them. Sometimes it's in the shower, sometimes when it's when I'm driving, sometimes it's after a conversation, and even in the middle of a conversation, I'll get visions or ideas and different things. Sometimes it's just when I'm journaling, like things will just be downloaded to me. Sometimes it's even watching movies or listening to a podcast, and then suddenly there's this God perspective that comes into play, or just ideas will hit me randomly, seemingly, right? So I love working because I love the process of dreaming with God or discovering things with God or figuring things out with God. I just love that process because there was a time when I didn't. There was a time where I didn't surrender to that. And I know the difference. I know how challenging it is to show up and work really hard and hustle and achieve and cross things off your to-do list. And none of that created a love for working. And none of that brought fulfillment at the end of the day. So love working really means love creating with God. Love what it feels like when you know that God is revealing his glory in you, whether that's how he is using you to speak into the life of another person, whether that's how he's using you to write a message, a blog post. It doesn't have to be extreme. Whether that's how he reveals to you in more ways than one, constantly reveals to you, reminds you, make sure that you get it. Many times how he reveals things to you to just encourage your spirit and let you know that you're on the right path, right? Love that process. Love, it's almost like a treasure hunt. Love exploring and discovering things with God. So that's number 4. Number 5 is become the best you that you can be. Really, that thing that makes you unique, that thing that makes you special, that's the thing that's going to make you stand out. And a lot of times that's the thing that's diminished because we follow a plan or a path of what we think we need to be doing. So even just take social media, for example. We think that we have to be doing all of these 2020 marketing tips in order to be successful and make an impact on social media, when really it's like, what is God telling you to do? And he can make you successful. That's your strategy sometimes, right? So become the best you and be unapologetic about that. Meaning you don't need to figure out what other people are doing, because that's only going to take the focus off of how are you called to express yourself right now? How do you uniquely inspire people? What are your gifts? What are your talents? Where are your abilities needed most, right? Who are you called to serve? Explore that and you'll never be bored. Ever. So become the best you. That's really what you are seeking. That's what's going to be most fulfilling for you. And you're never going to tap into that or experience that if you are comparing or trying to follow a path that's already there. A lot of times you're the path, meaning God reveals the path as you walk it. And you're paving a new way. You're a pioneer. You're a reformer. It's not going to look like anything that you've done. So stop looking outside of yourself and trust the uniqueness about you. I know for me, my voice is something, my energy is something, my crazy mannerisms is something, right? So whatever that is for you, let that serve you rather than trying to hide it, okay? Or trying to diminish to make sure that you're pleasing to other people. You'll never win that way. All right, so number 6. Never despise small beginnings. This is definitely biblical. Don't despise small beginnings, meaning there's times, and I know this too, where as you are so excited and so passionate and going down this path with this brilliant idea that God's given you, that you want to be seen, you want everyone to know about it. You're like, look at me, I want to shine. It's my time, right? And it's not your time to shine. And God's hiding you. And that can be one of the most difficult positions to be in, because you're like, I've got something though. This is really awesome and everybody must know about it. And they will, but when it's time. And God has the perfect timing. So sometimes God is actually hiding you because he knows more than you do and he's protecting you. But that can feel really uncomfortable when we want to be seen, when we want to share, when you want a spotlight on you, so to speak. But really, shift your focus here. Don't despise small beginnings, meaning don't despise just simply being obedient, because the small thing turns into a big thing when done consistently, right? Because it's what you do in private. It's how you show up in private. It's how you really submit to God and humble yourself before God and obey God with radical obedience, meaning you don't procrastinate, because that's still disobedience, right? And you just obey in the small things. You're willing to be adjusted. If God calls you, you actually sit and it can be a good receiver, right? So don't despise the small beginnings, because it's the small stuff that you do that seems mundane sometimes. It seems like it's going nowhere. In a moment, that could be the thing that promotes you and you just have no idea. And what's really more important is doing this and really finding your God rhythm, meaning how does God speak to you? And that can change too by season. That's why it's important to have relationships that you can understand, oh, is God silent seemingly in this season? What is he teaching me? What does he want me to notice? Is he waiting on me to do something that I still haven't done yet, right? Or is God really loud, or is it really an accelerated time? What is going on? It's important for you to focus on that rhythm, because that's your stability. That's what's going to keep you solid no matter what your circumstances are, whether a spotlight's on you or not. It doesn't matter, because if you need that, that can manipulate you, and it can get you off the course of your purpose and your destiny, really, to do things like other people are instructing you to do versus God. So you want to be able to hear God more than any other voice. Let me just say that. So don't despise small beginnings. God knows what he's doing. Trust him. Number 7, one of my personal favorites, is have fun. Have fun, right? Think about it. If you are a boss, if you're a leader, even if you're a manager, you want to be somebody that people enjoy being around. Yes, there's going to be moments where you're serious and you've got to, hunker down, but a majority of the time you can live your purpose with joy. Right? God actually gives us not only the ability to enjoy the work, to do the work of our hands, to guide us to do that and give us the strength to do it, but he gives us the ability to enjoy it. And that's truly a gift, because not everybody does, right? And how awful would it be to come to work really hard and never get to really enjoy it, right? Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, right? So you want to have fun, whatever that looks like for you. If it's having a sense of humor, if it's building relationships with your team and finding out, fun ways to do that, whatever it is, but incorporate fun into what you do, because it should be fun. Creating is fun. It's fun. All right. Number 8 is be a student of life. This is one of my all-time favorites, and I have no problem being a student of life, because I feel like when you have that perspective, when you have that mindset, life gives you so much. There's so much that you can learn from life. There's so much wisdom that you can gather and just literally absorb from things that happen. And just by paying attention, just by listening and letting God weave that understanding to you, it's just so profound, really. I mean, even in relationships, if you have the willingness to pursue relationship with people, there's so much that you can learn that you would never learn if you didn't pursue that. And hopefully from a heart of love, right? Not just for an agenda, but just to pursue because you're interested, you're compassionate, you actually genuinely care. There's no limit to what you can learn. And there's so many people that they've experienced life and they know quite a bit about something that you don't. There's something that you can learn from everyone and from anything, and you can see God in it all if you choose. And that truly is so fun. And so many lessons come out of that. So be a student of life. There's no end date. Even if you graduated school, there's no end date to what you can learn. And learning doesn't have to be this formula where it's all virtual or online classes, or, you're just going for a degree. It doesn't have to be like that. You could constantly be growing and developing in areas where you're inspired to, where you're called to, so that you can have a greater and more intentional impact. So good. Number 9 is have faith. Dude, this one is so interesting. It's interesting because, man, I just did not have faith. I had a lot of fear and I was a worrywart, right? Like I just could see all of the worst case scenarios play out, or all the ways that it wouldn't work. And it takes a lot of intention and focus, if you're wired like that, to rewire your brain with faith and to really believe God and trust that what he says is valid and that it's true, and to walk like it, right? Not just in prayer time, like, I believe you, okay, thank you, bye, and then go out in life and freak out. Like that's That's inconsistent. So how do you truly live this aligned life of faith? Alignment being, are your thoughts aligned with faith? Are your words aligned with faith? Are your actions aligned with faith? Are you surrounded with people of faith, right? There's going to be moments where you dip, right? But your resilience is how you keep the faith, especially in the most trying times. So that is one that I would encourage, because you don't think of creative solutions when you're in fear. You don't grow when you're in fear. You actually shut down. And you can create a lot of unwanted and messy things, particularly in relationships, when you're not operating from faith. So if there's anything to master, that would be one. And then the last one, number 10, is be a point of light. Meaning there's a phrase or a mantra, meditation that you can think about. God calls us to shine. We're meant to be a city on a hill that can't be hidden, right? You don't put a lampshade over the light. You're meant to shine, okay? So he's designed you to do that. Now, so you are a point of light. So really it would be own that you are a point of light and really look at where you're not shining. And that could be part of where your work is so that you can shine. You might even be called to that area. Your breakthrough in that area could be ways that you need to shine so that others can get breakthrough too. Just a thought. There is nothing that my holiness cannot do. That is a beautiful meditation or mindset. What I mean by that is God's glory in you. The whole world is waiting for the revealing of the sons of God, right? So God reveals his glory in and through you to the world. Meaning there's nothing that the God in me can't do. Apart from God, I ain't holy. Okay, none of us are. But man, the God in me, there ain't nothing that holiness can't do. So reminding yourself of that, and that it's not on you to figure it out, that it's not on you where the strength comes from. It's not on you where the supernatural capacity comes from, where these ideas come from, where the wisdom comes from. It's all God. And so sometimes when you get off the throne, when you humble yourself, and you put God back where he needs to be, you're a good receiver. So it's becoming a good receiver of all of the wisdom, all of the discernment, all of the creativity, all of the insights, all of the lessons, right, that God has for you, becoming a good receiver of his goodness and then giving that to the world. That's literally how you're a point of light, right? Another way to think of it is, and I know this is true, when you spend time with God, you're different. People can tell, like, what is it about you? There's just like this peace or this like energy. You've got such great energy. Where the heck does that come from? Well, it comes from God. Okay, let's be real, right? So it's not something that you manufacture. It's something that's a gift to you, okay? And you can steward it well when you pay attention and when you practice these things. So those are 10 rules to really help you show up in a greater way and know that you don't need to be rescued. That's already been done. God's got you. So you're not waiting on anybody else. You're just waiting on you to show up in the fullness of who you are. So the challenge today would be to consider all of these things. Go back and re-listen and maybe write some down and circle and intentionally go after the ones that resonate most with you. And then really also activate gratitude for how God helps you do all of this. It would be even neat too to write down a list of things of how God is doing this for you. But really, my encouragement would be is how can you show up? How can you rescue yourself? How can you be the hero of your own story? Stop any victim or orphan thinking and show up and really lead your life with good, orderly direction. How can you do that? Even make that a prayer. Ask God to reveal that to you and watch what happens. So I hope this blessed you. I would love to hear what your favorite rules are below. And if you want to see more interaction, more activity, you can follow me over at Miss Juliana Page on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook under the same name. JulianaPage.com is the website. There's a ton of consulting services over there that you can get plugged into. There's a course that's a really great self-mastery course if this work is something that inspires you, and a lot of other good stuff. So go check it out. And until next time, guys, stay blessed. Bye.